Namaskara, the South Indian is here and I have got two stories. Our top story is coming from Karnataka. Then we shall bring you a story from Tamil Nadu, but first Karnataka. You know, it is said that when things are going well, when everything is falling into place, why spoil it? Why touch it? I think somewhere that's exactly what's happening in Karnataka. And that's the message, if you can see this, is Siddaramaiah facing internal heat. That's our top story at this hour. You know, Siddaramaiah's was the first Congress government in South India to come to power, and somehow it became a benchmark for the party in subsequent elections. Today, of course, our focus is singularly on Chief Minister of Karnataka, Siddaramaiah, a man who seems to be hemmed in from all sides and by his own from within the party and also government. Is Siddaramaiah fighting too many challenges, too many battles? Is he lonely at the top? They say it gets very lonely at the top. Let me first introduce you to the guests on the show and then we will take up the challenges faced by Siddaramaiah. Joining me on the debate is Vijay Grover, who is a senior journalist, and Professor Chambi Puranik, who is a senior political analyst. And we are also awaiting yet another guest who shall join us, and then I will introduce you to him. First up, the most despicable comment made by Shivanand Patil, who is a minister in Siddaramaiah's cabinet, whose theory is that farmers in Karnataka wish for drought so that their loans can be waived off. And let's not forget that Karnataka is facing the worst drought in its history. He said, and I am quoting him here, "Water from river Krishna is free, electricity is free, many CMs gave seeds and fertilizers to farmers. Now farmers have only one wish, that drought recurs, it is because farm loans will be waived. You should not wish for that. Even if you don't wish for it, there will be a drought year every 3 or 4 years. When it is a distress year, governments can come to your aid, but it will be very difficult if aid is sought to all the time." And listen in, you know, I read this out so that you know comprehensively what he said, but please listen in to what he said. Go ahead.
ಕೃಷ್ಣಾ ನದಿ ನೀರು ಪುಕ್ಕಟ್ಟದೆ, ಕರೆಂಟು ಪುಕ್ಕಟ್ಟದೆ, ಮತ್ತು ಬಹಳಷ್ಟು ಮುಖ್ಯಮಂತ್ರಿಗಳು ಬೀಜಾನು ಕೊಟ್ಟರು, ಗೊಬ್ಬರನೂ ಕೊಟ್ಟರು. ಇನ್ನು ರೈತರಿಗೆ ಏನಪ್ಪ ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ ಒಂದೇ ಆಸೆ ಇರ್ತದೆ, ಮಗನ ಮ್ಯಾಗ ಬರಗಾಲ ಬೀಳಲಿ ಅಂತೇಳಿ, ಯಾಕಂದ್ರೆ ಅದು ಸಾಲ ಮನ್ನಾ ಆಗ್ತದೆ. ಹಂಗೆ ಬಯಸ್ಬಾರ್ದು. ಅದ್ರಾಗೆ ನೀವು ಬ್ಯಾಡ ಅಂದ್ರೆ 3-4 ವರ್ಷಕ್ಕೆ ಒಂದು ಸರ್ತಿ ಬಂದೇ ಬರ್ತದೆ. ಆದರೂ ಈ ಸರ್ತಿ ಬಂದದ್ದು ನೋಡಿದ್ರೆ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಮೊನ್ನೆ ಸಿದ್ದರಾಮಯ್ಯನೂ ಹೇಳಿಬಿಟ್ಟ, ಮೀಡಿಯಂ ಟರ್ಮ್ ಲೋನಿಗೆ, ಮಧ್ಯಮ ಅವಧಿ ಲೋನಿಗೆ ನಾನು ಬಡ್ಡಿ ಬಿಡ್ತೀನಿ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ಬಿಟ್ಟ. ಇನ್ನು ಕೆಲವೊಬ್ರು ಸಾಲನೇ ಸೂಟು ಬಿಟ್ಟಾರೆ, ನಿಮಗೇನು ಹೇಳಬೇಕಾಗಿಲ್ಲ. ಅದು ಇದೇ ಸಿದ್ದರಾಮಯ್ಯನೂ ಬಿಟ್ಟಾರೆ, ಕುಮಾರಸ್ವಾಮಿನೂ ಬಿಟ್ಟಾರೆ, ಯಡಿಯೂರಪ್ಪನವರು ಬಿಟ್ಟಾರೆ, ನಾನು ಇಲ್ಲ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳೋದಿಲ್ಲ. ಆದರೆ ಏನು ಸಂಕಷ್ಟದಲ್ಲಿದ್ದಾಗ ಸರ್ಕಾರ ನೆರವಿಗೆ ಬರ್ಬೋದು, ಆದರೆ ಸದಾ ನಮ್ಮ ನೆರವಿಗೆ ಬಾ ಅಂದರೆ ಅದು ಕಷ್ಟ ಆಗ್ತದೆ. ಯಾವುದೇ ಸರ್ಕಾರಕ್ಕೂ ಕಷ್ಟ. ಅಂಥದ್ದೆಲ್ಲ ಮುಂದಾಲೋಚನೆ ಇಟ್ಟುಕೊಂಡು ನಾವು ಬೆಳೆದ್ರೆ ಖಂಡಿತ ನಮಗೆ ಉಜ್ವಲವಾದಂಥ ಭವಿಷ್ಯ ಇದೆ. ಯಾಕೆ ಈ ಮಾತು ನಾನು ಹೇಳ್ತೀನಿ ಅಂದರೆ, ಕಬ್ಬಿನಿಂದ ಯಾವತ್ತೂ ಇಥೆನಾಲ್ ಆಗ್ತದೆ.
Now, in the face of what Prime Minister Modi has been saying, there are only 4 castes in the country, he said: farmers, women, the poor and the youth. When you look at it from the prism of what Modi is saying and what's going on in Siddaramaiah's government, has Siddaramaiah been left alone to salvage the situation? Let me go to the guest. I will take up each challenge individually and then ask the guests. Vijay Grover and Professor Puranik, namaskara to both of you. Also, I think our third guest has joined, Mr. S. Rajasekara. Yes, there he is. Mr. Rajasekara, namaskara to you. Nice to have you on the show, sir. You know, Professor Puranik, I am starting with you. This entire Shivanand Patil, what he said about, you know, earlier also he had made some terrible remarks about farmers' suicide, you know, that, oh, you want to get compensation. Now he is saying, oh, you want to get loans waived. Now look at Modi. He is time and again saying farmers, youth, women and the poor. These are the 4 main jatis, like he says. four main castes in this country. What does Siddaramaiah do if his ministers go around speaking like this, Professor?
Well, Sudha, I also join you in saying that it's a very sad and very irritating and also a very insensitive comment made by Minister for APMC and one who is in charge of all these affairs of farmers, in terms of getting the fair price and all that. But from well, I think, your observation that Siddaramaiah has no control over his ministers, I think it's proving one after another, So today is the day when the fifth guarantee of Siddaramaiah government,
Yes.
Yuva Nidhi is being inaugurated, in terms of enrollment, etc., of the youth, unemployed youth, both graduates and diploma holders. So that's what I am saying is, on the one side, you are trying to justify and see that the guarantees reach to the people. On the other hand, there are ministers who are arrogant, and I would say are insensitive. They are thick-skinned. The moment they become ministers, they think they know everything. Sarvagnani. Now that is not the thing. A minister is a public servant, and he should not say repeatedly, "Now everything is being given free, subsidized." So, whose money is given? He is giving taxpayers' money. He has no right to comment on farmers who are really in drought situation. 124 talukas of Karnataka
True.
officially declared that they are under drought.
Yeah.
And the same Siddaramaiah government went to Delhi
Yes.
to request for release of extra grants.
That's exactly
additional
what I was,
relief, etc., etc.
absolutely
So when
going.
such is the,
Yeah.
I think Siddaramaiah is, very seasoned administrator. As I said earlier in your channel, his second term as CM, I think he has lost that grip.
Yes, yes.
Kind of,
that's why I'm
hold he had.
saying you're right. He's lost that. It seems like it's slipping out of his hands, and therefore, I'm not great respect for Mr. Siddaramaiah. What a politician, seasoned, but somewhere he's losing the grip. He's feeling like all over everyone is kind of, from his own party and his own government, Vijay. The thing is that the farmers are a major constituency. That's one factor. Number two is that, like Professor said, Karnataka is facing a very, very bad drought. It is the worst in decades, the worst ever drought. Siddaramaiah goes to Delhi asking for, a couple of crores from Modi to say, please salvage it. And then this insensitive from one of his own people comes. What is this? Does Siddaramaiah not control his people? It seems that it's just a free for all, no, Vijay? Kabhi koi kuch bolta hai, kabhi koi kuch bolta hai.
Good evening, Sudha. The fact is that, this government somewhere seems to be not knowing which direction it is headed and who's in control. That's the biggest challenge we are seeing now, because, these kind of statements or, the video by Zamir or the other controversies that we have seen certainly clearly show that Siddaramaiah is not very visibly a strong leader and somebody who could call the shots. Because even I just would want to highlight over here that in the last couple of weeks, whenever I've met some of the politicians unofficially somewhere over at the meetings or at functions, very clearly the question that is there, will DK become the chief minister? Will Siddaramaiah give way? So clearly that's a Damocles sword which is hanging on his head, and he doesn't know whether how many MLAs are exactly with him and how many are scheming against him. Because the pressure that is mounting on him to give up his post to DK Shivakumar, even before the parliamentary election, is something that seems to be the biggest internal talk in the party at the moment, and that is something which is seems to be weighing on his head and the other's head as well. Now, whether these statements come willfully to embarrass Siddaramaiah or whether they come out of sheer frustration about not knowing what the future is, that is something which is clearly reflecting badly on the government and the capabilities of the chief minister to be able to ensure that there is discipline within his own team, and that is not visible at all. That's a very sad state of affairs. Now, whether, because there has been hypothetical speculation that in case DK Shivakumar is made the chief minister, as the center wants it, or center, when I say the high command, warrants it that, he is the man who won Telangana for them, and the need is being felt to make him the chief minister even before the parliamentary elections, that is something where we are seeing these fault lines emerge. Now, this is a mystery to everybody, whether
Yes.
these faults are being created intentionally, or it is out of frustration, or is it
Yeah,
a
but
ploy to keep
yeah. So
issues
the thing is that you're being
stuck?
very kind, Vijay. You're saying it's a mystery. No one knows. But what is the perception amongst the people then? I mean, if you're going to erode the faith and the trust of every constituency, farmers, women, students, you will be eroded. Karnataka people are very smart. They will see to it. Mr. Rajasekhara, let me come to you, sir. And I am asking you that even as the BJP is getting its house in order in Karnataka, Vijendra, that's another conversation, whether he has put his own people, not put in his own people, whether he's doing. But the point is that the Karnataka BJP is gearing up for 2024. But look at the Congress right now. My story, main story today is that is Siddaramaiah facing the heat from his own people. And the first topic that we were, as you must have heard Professor speaking and also Vijay speaking, I want you to tell me, this kind of statements which are anti-farmer, everyone has reacted. K.T. Ramarao from Telangana has reacted, the BJP will of course react, everyone is watching. If this is the kind of a thing, and also let's not forget he is part of the India bloc, don't you think that Siddaramaiah is actually not in control? He is losing the grip, sir. Please unmute yourself, sir.
Yeah, maybe to an extent it is true, but the statement made by Shivanand Patil is insensitive as well as politically incorrect, as well as perception-wise in public life. It is very amateurish. And probably what Siddaramaiah should have done, must have done immediately after this statement was to reprimand him and pull him up and not to make such statements, and also issue warning to all his cabinet colleagues not to do such things. But that has not happened to a great extent. At least it is not conveyed to public where the perception matters. So when you see from that side, yes, you may feel that Siddaramaiah maybe this is his last term in public life as a chief minister. And as Vijay pointed out, that he may be counting the days that the day may come, yes, to give to DK Shivkumar. But that is a larger question that will be debated at the party forum and decided later. But as they gear up for the Lok Sabha elections, this was very uncalled and
no, uncalled for. Mr. Rajasekhara, this will have an impact on the reputation of the government and the party. And who is the head of the government right now? Mr. Siddaramaiah. So you see, the point is that he is unable to. I mean, I'm not saying he has to crack the whip, but somewhere he is not even.
He should have done to send a signal that he is in control of things. That he has not done. That's very unfortunate. So that he should have done. That's what I was trying to say, that the chief minister should have immediately pulled him up and told all his cabinet colleagues and the people who matter in party, even the party functionaries maybe, not to make such insensitive and uncharitable comments.
All right. About Vijay Grover, Professor Puranik and Mr. Rajasekhara, I'm going to take a very short break and I'm coming back, ladies and gentlemen. We are discussing about is Siddaramaiah facing the heat, but right now it's time for a break. You can dive into unparalleled financial wisdom with Money9, the ultimate app to decode finance in real-time pocket cash. Get a hold of a financial journey starting now.
जानना है तो देखिए, समझना है तो सुनिए, सीखना है तो पूछिए और कमाना है तो खरीदिए। जानकारी, सलाह और निवेश सब एक ही सुपर ऐप पर। पैसे का सवाल है तो जवाब है Money9। आजादी पैसे की, अभी डाउनलोड करें।
Welcome back. This is South Indian and I had taken a short break. This is what we are discussing today. Is Siddaramaiah facing internal heat? As guests, I have three very seasoned journalists and political analyst. Professor Chambi Puranik is with us to decode this. Also, I have with me Vijay Grover and also Mr. S. Rajasekhara. We have discussed the first point where Siddaramaiah faces the heat, and that being about what Shivanand Patil said. And now it is time for the second hurdle, and it's a kind of a millstone around Siddaramaiah's neck, and that being the confusion over caste census. It was leaked, it was commented upon, now it is delayed. Also, what the Veerashaiva Lingayats are now saying, which is, it's on your screens right now, they are demanding for a fresh caste census. The state government should not accept the Kantaraj report. The state government should send a proposal to the union government recommending central OBC status to all sub-communities of Veerashaiva Lingayats, and community members do not describe themselves as Hindu in the forthcoming population census or caste census. You know, it was none other than Siddaramaiah who had commissioned the socio-economic survey, I beg your pardon, way back in 2015, and now faces confusion and even opposition over it. Professor Puranik, you know, the Lingayats now saying, but the thing is that you and I know, I mean, most of us who know Karnataka, that Lingayats, you know, Basavanna spoke about being away from Brahminical hegemony. So, it had nothing to do with what is called caste Hinduism. But now I see that they are becoming more and more vociferous as to they also want this. OBC is also an old demand. But I just see that they are saying, no, we do not accept the caste census. Professor Puranik, the point is now it is being said that the caste census may get so delayed that it may come only after 2024 elections. Don't you think for Siddaramaiah this is going to be a major challenge, and it is something he is confused? First he said yes, it's coming, then DK Shivakumar gets up and says no, I am a Vakkaliga, then he says go ask DK Shivakumar, you know, then Kharge also reprimanding DK Shivakumar. One big galate, like, you know, there is nothing, we are not sure about what is happening. Don't you think that this will be a bad thing for Siddaramaiah, sir?
Yeah, I agree with you, because much more than Mr. Shivanand Patil's irresponsible comment, you know, which can be, you know, just by warning and all that, it should be told. But I think the entire crisis in Karnataka, in spite of having such stable majority, the chief minister is facing a major problem. This is very volcanic, you know. It's not an ordinary issue that, you know, the census report of what is that Kantaraj committee, you know, that has to be placed, you know, like that. There is a pressure from among some of the leaders who are very close to Siddaramaiah. That means to say that Siddaramaiah is bent upon this, and taking clue from this, you know, the major communities like Lingayats and Vakkaligas, they have had several meetings, and couple of days back, the Lingayat, whatever Mahasabha Commission, you know, Veerashaiva Lingayat Mahasabha Commission, you know, it's, I mean, that Mahasabha Convention has taken a definite position saying that we reject the report and it's unscientific, and we were in majority earlier, and from 2016, if this report has the data, it is outdated. In 2023, the data is obviously outdated. The second challenge Mr. Siddaramaiah will face it, even if he tries to release it or say that the report is technically accepted. The problem will be the mandatory census of central government, which was postponed because of COVID.
Right.
That will take place in 2000. So there is a kind of situation in which Mr. Siddaramaiah has to take a very, I would say, a responsible and also very pragmatic decision. If he postpones, there are, I think, some kind of, you know, he is buying some kind of a truce from the crisis that he has got. Otherwise, this on top of whatever the problems of drought and the shortage of funds, and also his own team, you know, the cabinet not being cohesive, and the pressure, as Mr. Grover and Rajshekar mentioned, that there is Democrat sword hanging on his head to hand over the seat of chief minister to DK Shivakumar, because he is supported. He is the blue-eyed boy of High Command. Right. So I think all these things are working on his mind, definitely. And this particular report which you mentioned about the protest of Lingayats, though the Lingayats, I mean, probably knew that this kind of report will definitely lead to political crisis or controversies. Now it has come to them and also BJP is supporting, and even Congress ministers, including top leader of Congress, Mr. Shivanand, his own ministers, all of them have endorsed, saying that the report is unscientific, including Jagdish Shetty, who has joined Congress to support Siddaramaiah's new government. I think, as you mentioned, Siddaramaiah is not at all in a very happy position. I would say he's in a very shaky position. Also.
Vijay Grover, tell me something. This whole thing about we will not identify ourselves as Hindus, that is Lingayats. There is history, we all know that they were never part of what is called the Hindu ambit, as it were. But you know, Vijay Grover, look at it this way. Caste census confusion happens, his deputy chief minister is protesting, then now sources are telling us, you know, that it will not happen, it will only happen after the elections are over. The point of the matter is that it is the right of everybody who lives in Karnataka to know where he belongs. It's a duty, it's not a favor that this government will be doing. So, first of all, you are going back on that. Secondly, Vijay Grover, even as Yedurappa and Vijendra are putting the house together, and we know Yedurappa is one of the strongest and tallest Lingayats leaders, don't you think it's going to really come back and boomerang on Mr. Siddaramaiah in a very bad fashion?
Well, see, Sudha, if you remember the first time ever that we had a discussion on this, and that was quite some time back, and even at that time I had said that this report will never see the day of light. This is something which is now coming true because nobody wants that report to be released, and nobody wants the report to be made public, and nobody wants the people of the state to benefit from it, because what is now standing exposed, as I told you earlier, the fault lines are now visible very clearly. Contrary to the perception that Siddaramaiah is in a corner, I can tell you that at the end of this discussion on caste census, he as an OBC, as a Kuruba, will emerge much stronger, because now we see, cutting across political lines, the Lingayats and the Vokkaligas were protesting the release of this report, whereas the other castes, be it the Kurubas, be it the Dalits, be it the minorities, be it the others, they all want this report to be released. So clearly the divide is not against party lines, the divide is now visible in the caste lines.
Right.
And that is something which is not very healthy, I would say, but something which gives Siddaramaiah the edge in case, again, it's a playing a devil's advocate. I would want to say that if he wants to break away from the Congress, in case he has to hand over power, he would have a strong backward morcha which will be at his command. That is something where this could give him an edge. So clearly, this is something which I'm just thinking hypothetically what I would do in case I were in his place. But clearly, it strengthens his position as a backward thing, because he's able to say that this is how the dominant castes do not want social justice to come to the backwards.
Sure, I get that, which Mr. Kharge also said in Parliament. He ticked off Shivakumar. But I am only looking at him from the prism of being the chief minister of a state. I am not looking at him only as a Kuruba, as a Dalit, as a Vokkaliga, as a Lingayat, so on and so forth. Mr. Rajasekara, I want to come to you. Don't you think this entire confusion on bringing out the caste census and also facing a kind of a near mini revolt from both Vokkaligas and Lingayats, this is going to really boomerang and kind of impact? Vijay, my friend, does not think. He says it could be, Sudha, turned into an advantage. Your comments, Mr. Rajasekara, on this.
Yeah, first thing, Sudha, this commission was set up by Chief Minister himself when he was Chief Minister in his first term.
Right.
And why the report was not released then? For the same reasons. There was a lot of pressure within the party not to release, and there was a lot of reservations about the way the caste census was carried on.
Yeah.
And the upper castes, particularly the Lingayats, believe that their subcastes are divided and put into various other categories, reducing them to a kind of a minority. Similarly, the Vokkaligas also thought that the others, the backward classes, are going to get upper hand in terms of numbers and things like that. So that is the same reason that made Siddaramaiah not to release the report back then. The same reason hold good now also. And as Vijay said, it will not see the day of the light. I mean, it will never be released in public for the same reasons in future also. And once the term of Siddaramaiah ends, whether it is 5 years, 2 years, whatever it is, I don't think anybody will care about this report as much.
No, let me tell you something. The BJP can turn even the worst thing into a good thing. And
Absolutely.
when this, we are all here, kind of, reading tea leaves. Who knows? I don't know, but I think it will be that you did dereliction of duty. You did not do your duty. This is going to happen once again, gentlemen. I'm going to take a break, but I'm going to come back. Ladies and gentlemen, the South Indian is here taking a break now, coming back and speaking to three very interesting men who are throwing the light on whether Siddaramaiah, Chief Minister of Karnataka, is feeling rather alone suddenly. See you on the other side. Stay with us.
Currently, the industry is facing a lot of challenges as far as demand is concerned. Basically, the US markets has slowed down because of high inflation.
So obviously, diamonds being a dream product, something which doesn't have a utility value or is seen as a luxury. So that obviously goes off your shopping list. That's the first item that will go off your shopping list, especially in recessionary trends.
That lab-grown diamonds are not mined, and they do away with the entire mining. So they save up on all the environmental damage that is associated with mining, and of course, the mining cost, which is why they're even more affordable.
People that is impacted by all these recessions are the artisans, are the people who work in this industry, right? But I think lab-grown diamond has allowed them to actually use their skills in the same product.
This and more streaming on world's first news OTT, News9 Plus. Download now.
Pakistani spy agency ISI's sinister plan to target India. Training women to honey trap top civil and military officials. Counter honey trapping ops initiated by India. But gullible victims still caught in the web. Top military intelligence experts break down the web of deception. Colonel Hani Bakshi explains the phenomena of honey trap.
जहाँ पे भी आपको लगेगा, उनको लगेगा कि there is a person who is susceptible to women, who is making a lot of women friends on the social media. That is where they will make a spoof account and then start luring the person.
Colonel Pavitran Rajan decodes the psyche of the victim and the predator.
But when you go up the chain, no one enforces it to people at the top. That disciplinary regime and the security regime is not enforced at the top. And they usually have a public profile where it is much more easier to approach that person.
A News9 special on how modern technology has added teeth to the ancient spying tactic.
Our story takes you inside Pakistan's honey trap machine.
This and more streaming on world's first news OTT, News9 Plus. Download now.
Welcome back. The South Indian is here and we are discussing this story right now. Siddaramaiah, that is the Chief Minister of Karnataka, facing internal hit. Take a look at that. I mean, the picture also says a lot, and we are discussing this with three men: Vijay Grover, senior journalist; Professor Chambi Puranik, senior political analyst; and S. Rajasekhar, also senior journalist and political analyst. And now we've discussed 2 points, and the third point, there are actually 12. I don't have the time to do it. So, three main. The other one is the controversy over hijab ban, which is Siddaramaiah now is facing pressure. He first announced that the ban on hijab shall be lifted, and immediately thereafter there was a volte-face when Home Minister G. Parameshwara clarified and said that the government will decide later. This too is something which has in a way isolated Siddaramaiah to some extent, if not more. Let me once again go to the three guests, three of them, all of them know Karnataka like the back of their palm. Vijay Grover, coming to you first. Don't you think this hijab, because when I read there was a particular reaction, then when I read that he is dithering and waffling, then of course G. Parameshwara said he did not say now, he said we will. But don't you think it actually shows him up, because how does one read it is that he is not going to stir the hornet's nest now, right on the anvil of 2024 Lok Sabha elections. How do you decode this, Vijay Grover?
Well, see, it's very unfortunate development, I would say, from the perspective of the common man. You know, we saw the controversy which happened when the hijab ban came in, the kind of protest. And then we saw, you know, the government had made amends. The educational institutions had made some amendments in the rules. They gave a changing room to the girls where they could, you know, change the hijab, because that was something which was facilitated. And, you know, after that, the girls took it in their stride and continued education, except for a handful who opted not to continue their education for personal reasons. The fact that when this has become the new normal, there was no reason to trigger a debate again, but for political gains. This was not something that the girls were as pragmatic as anybody else. And I will tell you, religion doesn't matter in terms of education. The girls are as pragmatic, shoulder to shoulder. They've been studying with the other community girls, and they have not, you know, it's impacted them in any which way. To just trigger the debate now and, you know, test the waters now to show that, look, I am the messiah of the minority community. I am going to do this thing. That is something which is purely political opportunity that, you know, Siddaramaiah seems to be trying to gain. And that is something which may not work, because the legal debates that happened on the hijab issue, the legal consent that came, the amendments that came, it may not be so easy for Siddaramaiah to just say that, okay, from tomorrow on hijab is allowed. Because, you know, again, there'll be a legal debate on this. And I don't think so that, you know, after all the discussion, if you remember the case which went on the High Court, went to the Supreme Court, it was after a lot of deliberation that the judiciary upheld the decision. It was not that, you know, it was an overnight decision.
So you think
it
once
may
again,
not happen.
So Siddaramaiah should have been more prudent, you think, Vijay Grover?
Obviously.
Yes.
Obviously. This is something, you know, you cannot just
can't
project
play.
yourself.
It's not a joke. You're right. One of the girls, you know, talking about what you, one of the girls said, please do not play this political card with us. We want to study. I think that's a very good message coming from a young girl. And I really salute to those young girls. I mean, you and I, Vijay, have done a lot of debates on this, whether I am wearing a half sari, full sari, salwar kameez. Ultimately, I want to study and work. No, that's my intention to do. Professor Puranik, you know, the BJP will really turn this around, because wait and watch. In Telangana, the Muslims actually voted for the Congress. They may be accused of being a pro-minority party there. And in Karnataka, because of what Siddaramaiah has done, the BJP or even other people, why only the BJP, can say, can't make up his mind. We are scared. First he said he will remove, then he withdrew. So look at it. Once again, Siddaramaiah boxes himself into a hole, as it were.
Yeah, you see, if you go through or listen to his speech, you know, he was very clear and emphatic, saying that hijab will be removed and everybody has the right to have that kind of dress or eat whatever the food they like and all that. So he was very, very clear, you know, politically. He's a very shrewd man, you know. I mean, he knows, you know, how to please his constituency or supporters, you know, that he did it. But within 2 days, when he saw the reaction from different groups, especially from the BJP and JDS and many other leaders, he thought that it's not a right statement that he should have made. So he took a U-turn. So the very fact that he took U-turn shows that Siddaramaiah is trying to, feel the pulse of the public, before 2024 elections. But it's advantage for BJP and even to Kumaraswamy, saying that he is trying to bring in unnecessary kind of whatever controversy among the people and all that. So as the matter was under litigation and the court has given pertaining to per se for the uniform in the schools where it is considered as a mandatory. So barring that, I have also interacted with many Muslims, very knowledgeable and very responsible Muslims. They say that it's a political controversy. It is not really bothering us because we want our children, especially the girls, to get educated and empowered. That is the kind of feeling they have, because they also should think of their future in 21st century. They are not going back to the feudal era. So I think, Siddaramaiah is a very clever kind of a leader.
No, but he is not clever here, Professor. He should not have done this dithering and
waffling. He should not have done it.
He should not have done it, sir. It is not, it's not a joke. Mr. Rajasekhara, don't you think that this is, I was shocked. You can say I'm overturning whatever the BJP has implemented. But this ain't like Vijay Grover said. It's not like magic that I erase it with an eraser and it goes away. And I think he's lost the trust. He's lost the, I've lived in Karnataka as a woman. I would say, what is this man? It's about us women. It's about our education. It's about what we wear. It's a legal matter. We'll wait for it. But overall, you can't just say, oh, it should go. Because remember, when he's a chief minister, he's not some minister.
Absolutely. This is a very uncalled decision that government has taken. And immediately they have developed cold feet on that. See, worldwide, hijab is considered a very regressive one. What happened in Iran recently? The women came to streets and protested. They didn't want to wear hijab. They wanted to remove it and come out and fight. They fought for it, and finally the Iranian government let them do whatever they want. So here also the uniforms is confined to only these. What we are debating is only confined to the government schools. What happens is not single private school has this hijab rule as such. Because they insist you come with uniform, nothing else. Whatever the uniform is defined, you come with that dress only. Why is that only the government schools give this kind of a leniency? Particularly, who comes to government schools? The poorest of the poor will come to government schools. So by taking these kind of decisions, aren't they denying the right to education to the
but do you think
Siddaramaiah may not be interested in hijab? So that it's very uncalled, I say immature, and at a time when entire minority is with the Congress, particularly after JDS walked into NDA fold. So as it is, the polarization in Karnataka is so high in the last 2-3 elections that I have studied. Now it is about 98% in coastal Karnataka, and rest of the Karnataka its averages around 65-70% in favor of Congress. Now it will be 100% with the Congress because JDS is not there anymore, secular as such. So that is the situation when the entire minority is with you. Why you take such decisions that will help to consolidate the other part of the society?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And on that note, I think I've completely run out of time. But like I said, all the gentlemen here think Siddaramaiah, good man, very shrewd, but somehow is feeling very isolated and seems to be press ganged, maybe feeling very, very kind of, isolated, boxed into a corner. Like they say that when you are feeble, then the others around you do that to you. Thank you so much, Vijay Grover. Thank you very much indeed, Mr. Rajasekhara, Professor Puranik. As always, it's such a pleasure to have you on the show. Thank you indeed. Ladies and gentlemen, I am coming right back. Our second story is from Tamil Nadu, and what a picture it is. Don't miss it. Coming back. Look at that picture. See that picture. And I am asking you, can the DMK wake up to caste disparities in Tamil Nadu? It's all very well to speak about Samuttavam, etc., etc. Look at that picture. I am going to tell you the story of that picture, you know. Lakshmi, just, you know, stay on that picture. Stay on that picture for one more second. Let people see it. You know, I wish we could zoom in, but this is the picture. It's a row of men. There you have it. Lakshmi, thanks so much. Look at that picture. Row of men, you know, they are walking, and look at their feet. And I will tell you that story in just a second. It's a row of men, like I said, walking, but what needs to be noticed is that they are all wearing slippers or chappals, like we say. Some are also wearing shoes. So what? You may ask, what's the big deal about it? It's one of the most evocative pictures from Tamil Nadu. And the reason is that for the first time in their lives, maybe adult lives, and consciously, these are 50 Dalit men from Tirupur district who walked wearing footwear on a street. Can you imagine? For the first time in your life, you are walking wearing footwear on a street. What is very heart-wrenching is that the street was barred for them. They were not allowed to walk with footwear on that street because they are Dalits, and they just couldn't dare to walk with slippers on. You know, the said village has around 900 households, and majority being which are belonging to dominant castes who rule the roost, and they decide Dalits cannot wear shoes, can't wear slippers, they can't even dare ever to ride a bicycle. But then these men walked and defied this vile caste discrimination in Tamil Nadu. So you may say, what has this got to do with Dayanidhi Maran? Because, you know, I was earlier thinking of putting Dayanidhi Maran's picture there. Do we have that picture of Dayanidhi Maran? Do we? There is that picture. You will say, what has that got to do with 50 Dalit men walking on the street with shoes? Everything. Everything. Here is a man who is privileged by virtue of being Chief Minister Stalin's relative. He is very wealthy, successful businessman who said in the clip how Prime Minister Modi, who actually won 2019 because of the Hindi speaking population, that clip went viral. I know it's an old clip, but what did he say? And that's the whole thing. You know, what did he say? I'm going to quote Mr. Maran. Those who voted for him, meaning Modi, are the Hindi speaking people. To increase the votes of the Hindi speaking people in the next 5 years, Modi is trying to impose Hindi on us. But just because we speak Hindi, will the country become unified? Our leader, Karunanidhi, often says that we are not against Hindi, but do not impose Hindi on us. Now, the thing is, all this is fine, you know, he is talking about Hindi imposition, which is of course the kernel of the Dravida Munnetra Kazhagam. The next point, also according to me, was within the parameters of decency. He spoke about how Tamil Nadu promotes both Tamil and English, because of which many young people in the state were employed in the IT sector. He also of course quoted Sundar Pichai in the context, and which is just fine. But it is what he said next which was most objectionable and offensive. He said, and I quote, "Who are the ones constructing buildings today?" he asks. Those who learn only Hindi in UP and Bihar are coming here learning Tamil and constructing houses for us, cleaning roads and toilets. This is what happens if you learn Hindi. I am going to ask you the next question. Read what he said. So, Mr. Dayanidhi Maran, who makes such downright disparaging remarks about other ethnicities, has no qualms living with the harsh realities of some of the worst caste inequalities in the state. That picture, take a look at that picture yet again. That picture of men, 50 Dalits, walking with footwear for the first time in their adult life on a street which was barred for them. That's the story. This is about 2023, when Dalits in a district in Tirupur enter a street wearing slippers because they were barred by dominant caste. So, what happens to the English educated leaders like Dayanidhi Maran when they cite such caste crimes? Shut their eyes to the garbage piled in one's own home, but not only fling garbage at the neighbors, but also call them out for being dirty. Hypocrisy much, Dayanidhi Maran. It's a victory for those Dalit men to walk, but we are talking about 2023. What a shame. We all need to hang our heads in shame. Think about it. Coming up next, News9 special documentary. Lawrence Bishnoi has been in prison since 2015, but that hasn't stopped him building India's most notorious crime syndicate. Are prisons no hindrance to Bishnoi's activities? You want to find out? After this, coming up, special documentary, and with that, the South Indian says, Vanakkam, stay well.
India's most high-profile prison, the Tihar Jail,